What if wealth was not something you chased, but something you attracted by design? What if financial success and inner peace were not opposites, but partners? Most people spend their lives trying to earn more money while losing their mental balance. They sacrifice health for income. They sacrifice relationships for status. They sacrifice peace for ambition. And when they finally reach financial goals, they discover something unsettling. They still feel incomplete. This audiobook is different. This is not about getting rich at any cost. This is about building wealth that does not destroy you, success that does not exhaust you, achievement that does not steal your joy. Over the next few hours, you will learn how to build wealth without internal chaos. Develop a prosperity mindset rooted in emotional stability. Replace fear-based ambition with purpose-driven growth. Align your subconscious beliefs with financial expansion. Grow income while protecting mental clarity. True wealth is not measured only in numbers. It is measured in calm confidence, emotional control, clear thinking, sustainable growth, and, most importantly, peace of mind. Take a deep breath. Slow down your thoughts, and let's begin building wealth the right way. The hidden conflict between money and peace. There is a silent conflict happening inside most ambitious people. On one side, there is hunger, the desire to achieve more, to earn more, to prove more, to become more. On the other side, there is exhaustion, stress, overthinking, comparison, constant pressure. This conflict creates what I call success anxiety. You want wealth, but you are afraid of losing stability. You want growth, but you fear burnout. You want financial freedom, but you are mentally trapped. Why does this happen? Because most people were taught how to chase money, but never taught how to handle it psychologically. Money amplifies your internal state. If you are insecure, money magnifies insecurity. If you are anxious, money magnifies anxiety. If you lack clarity, money multiplies confusion. That is why some people grow financially and shrink emotionally. The real goal is not to grow income first. The real goal is to expand internal capacity. Let me explain. Imagine pouring 10 liters of water into a 1-liter container. What happens? Overflow, chaos, waste. Your mind is the container. Your wealth is the water. If your psychological container is small, any sudden success will create stress instead of stability. This is why lottery winners often go broke. This is why entrepreneurs burn out. This is why high earners feel empty. They expanded income, but never expanded identity. The first step to growing rich with peace of mind is this. Increase your emotional capacity before increasing your financial demand. How? By mastering 3 internal foundations: self-worth, emotional regulation, and purpose alignment. Let's go deeper. Self-worth and income ceiling. Your income will rarely exceed your internal sense of worth for long. If, deep inside, you believe, I am not good enough, I am not smart enough, I don't deserve abundance, you will unconsciously sabotage financial growth. Maybe by overspending, maybe by underpricing yourself, maybe by procrastinating, maybe by avoiding opportunities. Wealth does not stay where self-doubt lives. To grow rich with peace of mind, you must detach your worth from external validation. You are not your bank account. You are not your job title. You are not your social media metrics. You are the thinker behind the decisions, and that thinker must be trained. Emotional regulation, the wealth multiplier. Most people think money problems are strategy problems. Often they are emotional problems. Impulse decisions destroy portfolios. Ego destroys partnerships. Fear destroys investments. Greed destroys judgment. Emotional stability is a financial asset. The calm investor outperforms the emotional one. The disciplined entrepreneur outlasts the excited beginner. Peace of mind is not weakness, it is strategic advantage. Purpose alignment. If your only goal is money, you will feel pressure. If your goal is contribution, money becomes a byproduct. Purpose reduces anxiety. When your income is aligned with service, growth feels meaningful. You are not chasing numbers, you are building impact, and impact sustains motivation. This is the foundation. Before we talk about external strategies, we strengthen the internal structure. Because wealth without peace is temporary, but wealth with peace is sustainable power. Rewiring financial fear at the nervous system level. Before someone struggles financially in the external world, they struggle internally with safety. Money, at its deepest psychological level, is not about luxury, it is about survival. Your nervous system does not interpret money as wealth, it interprets money as safety, protection, control, and stability. When money feels uncertain, your body reacts as if survival is uncertain. That tight feeling in your chest when checking your bank account, that sudden stress before paying bills, that hesitation before investing in yourself, that is not logic. That is your nervous system responding to perceived danger. Most financial advice ignores this completely. It talks about budgeting, investing, side hustles, scaling income, but it does not talk about the biology of fear. And until fear is addressed at the root, no strategy feels safe enough to execute consistently. Let's explore something powerful. If you grew up hearing phrases like, money doesn't grow on trees, rich people are greedy, we can't afford that, be realistic, play it safe. Those phrases were not just words, they were emotional imprints. Every time money was associated with stress, conflict, or limitation, your nervous system linked wealth with tension. So later in life, when opportunity appears, you hesitate, because growth feels unsafe, not intellectually, biologically. Scarcity conditioning. Scarcity is not the absence of money, scarcity is the anticipation of loss. You can earn 6 figures and still feel poor. You can have savings and still feel anxious. Scarcity lives in expectation. It whispers, what if it disappears? What if you fail? What if you lose everything? And when the mind expects loss, it behaves defensively. Defensive behavior looks like overworking to exhaustion, hoarding money without enjoying it, avoiding investment risks completely, underspending on growth opportunities, constant comparison. Scarcity keeps you busy, but never peaceful. And here is the paradox. The more you fear losing money, the more you make decisions from fear, and fear-based decisions shrink potential. The prosperity nervous system. Let's reframe wealth differently. Instead of chasing money, you build capacity. Instead of forcing income, you expand tolerance. High levels of income require high levels of emotional regulation. Imagine your nervous system as a thermostat. If your wealth comfort zone is set to $50,000 a year and you suddenly begin earning $200,000, your internal thermostat will try to bring you back to what feels familiar, maybe through overspending, maybe through bad decisions, maybe through burnout. This is why many people earn more but never feel stable, because they never recalibrated their baseline. To grow rich with peace of mind, you must intentionally raise your internal wealth threshold. How? Gradual exposure, just like building muscle. You don't lift maximum weight on day one. You increase tolerance step by step. Financial exposure works the same way. Invest small before investing big. Raise prices gradually. Increase responsibility intentionally. Expand goals in structured layers. Each small expansion tells your nervous system this level is safe. Safety reduces fear. Reduced fear improves decision quality. Better decisions increase wealth. And now you see the loop. Redefining risk. Most people avoid risk because they misunderstand it. They think risk means danger. In reality, unmanaged fear is the real danger. Every wealthy individual learned one thing. Risk is not about recklessness. It is about calibrated exposure. The question is not, how do I avoid risk? The question is, how do I increase my ability to handle uncertainty calmly? Because uncertainty is permanent. If your peace depends on certainty, you will never be peaceful. Financial freedom is not freedom from uncertainty. It is freedom from panic inside uncertainty. The wealth-peace equation. Here is a powerful equation to remember. Income growth plus emotional instability equals stress. Income growth plus emotional stability equals power. Money amplifies what already exists inside you. So instead of obsessing over how to make more, ask, how stable am I under pressure? How calm am I during uncertainty? How disciplined am I when opportunity appears? Your answers reveal your current wealth ceiling. Practical exercise, rewiring safety. Let's make this actionable. Tonight, before sleeping, reflect on this question. When I imagine earning twice my current income, what emotion appears first? Excitement? Fear? Pressure? Doubt? Responsibility? Don't judge the answer. Observe it. Because that emotion is your growth barrier. Now, breathe slowly. Visualize handling that higher income calmly. See yourself making clear decisions, managing growth intelligently, delegating wisely, resting confidently. Repeat this visualization consistently. Your brain does not clearly distinguish between imagined and real rehearsal. You are building familiarity. Familiarity builds safety. Safety builds expansion. This is the difference between chasing wealth and becoming the kind of person that can hold it. You are not trying to get rich fast. You are training to become rich sustainably. And sustainability requires peace. In the next part, we will go even deeper. We will explore identity restructuring, the hidden addiction to struggle, why some people sabotage success unconsciously, and how to permanently shift your financial self-image.
The identity shift. Why you can't outperform your self-image. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. Let that settle. You can write affirmations. You can create vision boards. You can set aggressive financial targets. But if your identity does not match the goal, you will unconsciously sabotage the outcome. Identity is the invisible script running your behavior. It answers the silent question, who am I? Not what do I want, not what do I hope for, but who am I at my core? If deep down you identify as the struggler, the underdog, the one who never has enough, the person who is bad with money, the employee, not the owner, the dreamer, not the executor, then any attempt to become wealthy will feel unnatural, because wealth will contradict your internal story. And humans protect identity more than they protect opportunity. The addiction to struggle. Here's a hard truth. Some people don't just experience struggle, they identify with it. Struggle becomes familiar. It becomes part of their narrative. I've always had it hard. Nothing comes easy to me. I have to fight for everything. And while that story may feel strong, it quietly blocks peace. Because if you no longer struggle, who are you? If money flows smoothly, if opportunities open easily, if life feels stable, does that threaten your old identity? For many people, yes, because they have built self-worth around surviving difficulty. So when life becomes easier, they unconsciously create chaos, miss deadlines, start unnecessary conflicts, overspend, take reckless risks. Not because they are incapable, but because calm success feels unfamiliar, and unfamiliar feels unsafe. Identity and income ceiling. Every identity has a financial range attached to it. If you see yourself as middle class forever, your decisions will unconsciously reinforce that range. If you see yourself as someone who always struggles, you will find evidence to confirm it. The brain loves consistency, even when consistency limits you. To grow rich with peace of mind, you must deliberately upgrade your financial identity, not through fantasy, but through repetition and alignment. The 3 layers of identity change. Identity is not changed by force. It is changed in layers. Layer 1, language. Listen to how you speak about money. Do you say, "I'm broke"? "I'm terrible with finances"? "I'm just not business-minded"? "I'm not lucky"? Every time you repeat these phrases, you reinforce identity. Instead, shift language to growth framing. I'm learning to manage money effectively. I'm improving my financial intelligence. I'm building stronger discipline. Small linguistic shifts create cognitive flexibility. Layer 2, behavior. Identity follows repeated behavior. If you act like someone responsible with money, eventually you believe you are responsible with money. If you invest consistently, even small amounts, you begin to identify as an investor. If you track expenses calmly, you begin to see yourself as disciplined. Identity is evidence-based. Give your brain proof. Layer 3, environment. Your environment constantly confirms identity. If everyone around you fears money, you normalize fear. If everyone around you complains about finances, you normalize scarcity. Exposure matters. Read differently. Listen differently. Engage with higher-level conversations. Not to impress, but to normalize expansion. The quiet power of self-concept. Here's something powerful. If I handed you $1 million today, would your life improve permanently, or would you slowly drift back to your old patterns? Most people think money changes identity. In reality, identity determines how money behaves in your life. This is why some individuals build wealth repeatedly, even after losing it, because their identity supports rebuilding. And this is why some experience temporary spikes, followed by collapse, because their identity never upgraded. Peace requires identity stability. Let's connect this to peace of mind. If you are constantly trying to become someone you don't internally believe you are, you will feel tension. You will feel imposter syndrome. You will feel pressure. True peace comes when external growth matches internal self-image, when wealth feels natural, when responsibility feels earned, when success feels aligned. That alignment eliminates anxiety. Practical integration exercise. Tonight, write this sentence. The kind of wealthy person I am becoming is... Finish it. Be specific. Not about money, about character. Disciplined, calm under pressure, generous, strategic, emotionally stable, long-term thinker. Then ask, what daily behavior confirms this identity? Not 10 behaviors, 1. Just one consistent action. Because identity is built through repetition, not intensity. You are not trying to force wealth. You are becoming the type of person wealth naturally gravitates towards. That is sustainable growth. That is controlled expansion. That is peace with power. In the next part, we will explore something even deeper: the hidden fear of success, why people sabotage breakthroughs, how guilt and loyalty patterns limit financial growth, and how to expand without losing connection to your roots. When you're ready,
Now we go deeper than mindset, deeper than behavior, deeper than surface identity. We go into the invisible emotional contracts you made long before you ever tried to build wealth. Slow your pace as you read or record this, because this part changes everything. The hidden fear of outgrowing your past. There is a fear most ambitious people never admit. It is not fear of failure. It is fear of success. Not the glamorous version, the psychological version. Because success changes relationships. It changes conversations. It changes expectations. It changes how people see you. And sometimes it changes who stays. Many people subconsciously limit their financial growth because of loyalty patterns. Loyalty to family struggle, loyalty to old friends, loyalty to shared limitations. If you grew up in an environment where money was scarce and you begin to earn more than everyone around you, your nervous system may interpret that as betrayal, even if no one says it directly. There is a silent internal question. If I grow beyond this level, will I still belong? Belonging is one of the strongest human needs, stronger than ambition, stronger than logic, stronger than strategy. If your mind associates wealth with isolation, it will cap your growth, because no amount of money feels worth losing connection. The guilt barrier. Some people experience something subtle but powerful: success guilt. They start earning more, they improve their lifestyle, they gain confidence, and then a strange discomfort appears. They feel guilty for having more, guilty for wanting more, guilty for enjoying more. This guilt is rarely about money itself. It is about comparison. If they're struggling, how can I relax? If my parents worked this hard, who am I to live easier? If my friends are stuck, how can I accelerate? This internal conflict creates self-sabotage, not consciously, subtly. You delay decisions, you procrastinate expansion, you hesitate on opportunities because growth feels emotionally expensive. But here's the truth: outgrowing circumstances does not equal abandoning people. You are not responsible for shrinking yourself to maintain comfort. You are responsible for expanding responsibly. Growth done with integrity inspires. Growth done with arrogance isolates. Peace of mind comes from knowing your expansion does not require disconnection. It requires maturity. The identity threat of stability. There is another layer even deeper. Some people are addicted to instability. They don't call it that, but chaos feels familiar. Financial pressure feels normal. Last-minute problem-solving feels alive. When life becomes stable, they feel bored. When money becomes predictable, they create unnecessary risk. When systems begin to work, they disrupt them, because their nervous system was trained in high-alert environments. Calm feels unfamiliar, and unfamiliar feels unsafe. To grow rich with peace of mind, you must train your nervous system to tolerate stability. Yes, tolerate it, because for many people, calm is uncomfortable. expanding without losing yourself. Real expansion is not loud. It is controlled. It is intentional. It is patient. The strongest financial position is not rapid growth. It is consistent growth. And consistency requires emotional steadiness. Ask yourself, can I handle success quietly? Can I grow without announcing every move? Can I upgrade my life without seeking validation? When your growth no longer depends on approval, it becomes sustainable. When your wealth no longer feeds ego, it becomes peaceful. The psychological cost of fast money. Fast money without emotional maturity creates pressure. Sudden growth without identity upgrade creates anxiety. Rapid expansion without internal structure creates collapse. This is why sustainable wealth builders focus on character before capital, systems before scaling, emotional discipline before aggressive risk. Peace is not the opposite of ambition. It is the foundation of controlled ambition. Releasing the fear of separation. Let's address something honestly. Some relationships will change as you grow, not because you became different, but because alignment shifts. That is not betrayal. That is evolution. You can love people without matching their limitations. You can respect your past without recreating it. You can honor your roots without staying rooted in scarcity. True peace of mind comes when you allow yourself to expand without apology, without guilt, without over-explaining. Growth is not selfish when it is aligned with contribution. And when you grow from a grounded place, you become a stabilizing force for others, not a threat. Deep integration exercise. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine your income has doubled, your lifestyle improved, your confidence stronger. Now ask yourself, who feels uncomfortable in that vision? A parent? A friend? Your younger self? Notice the emotion that appears. Now breathe and remind yourself, growth does not erase connection. It redefines it. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to earn more. You are allowed to experience ease, and you are allowed to do it peacefully. We are not building aggressive wealth. We are building stable wealth. We are not chasing status. We are building internal strength. In the next part, we go into something even more practical and powerful. The discipline-peace paradox. How structured habits create mental freedom. Why consistency eliminates anxiety. And how to design a wealth system that protects your energy. When you're ready.
Now we move into something that separates dreamers from builders. Not motivation, structure. Because peace of mind is not created by positive thinking alone. It is created by order. Most financial stress does not come from lack of money. It comes from lack of clarity. Unclear numbers, unclear goals, unclear systems, unclear priorities. Uncertainty creates anxiety. Structure creates calm. When you do not know where your money is going, your brain fills the gap with fear. When you do not have a clear plan, your nervous system stays on alert. But when systems exist, pressure decreases. This is the discipline-peace paradox. The more structured your life becomes, the freer your mind feels. Discipline is not restriction, it is protection. A budget is not limitation, it is awareness. A financial plan is not rigidity, it is stability. Let's reframe discipline completely. Most people see discipline as force, waking up early when you don't want to, working when you feel tired, saving when you want to spend.
That version of discipline feels exhausting, but mature discipline feels different. It feels clean. It feels decisive. It feels relieving. Because once decisions are automated, mental noise decreases. Every unmade decision drains energy. Should I invest? Should I save? Should I spend? Should I start? Should I wait? Indecision creates mental fatigue. Systems eliminate repeated decision-making, and when decisions are reduced, peace increases. Wealthy individuals understand this deeply. They do not rely on willpower, they rely on structure. Automatic investments, scheduled reviews, clear allocation percentages, defined growth strategies. They remove emotion from repetitive processes. Emotion is powerful, but it is unstable. Systems are boring, but they are stable, and stability builds wealth quietly. Now let's go deeper. Your mind relaxes when it knows there's a plan, even if the plan evolves. Clarity reduces cortisol. Uncertainty increases it. So if you want peace of mind, create financial clarity. Know your numbers, not obsessively, calmly. Know your income, know your expenses, know your growth rate, know your long-term target. You cannot feel secure about something you refuse to look at. Avoidance breeds anxiety. Confrontation creates control, and control reduces fear. But this is not about becoming obsessed with money. It is about becoming intentional with money. There is a difference. Obsession is fear-driven. Intention is purpose-driven. Obsession says, I must not lose. Intention says, I am building steadily. One creates tension. The other creates confidence. Now understand something powerful. Peace is not the absence of responsibility. Peace is competence under responsibility. When you know you are handling your finances intelligently, even small progress feels strong. When you know you are ignoring reality, even high income feels fragile. That is why some people earning modest salaries sleep peacefully, and others earning six figures stay anxious, because peace comes from management, not magnitude. Let's talk about time. Financial stress often comes from short-term thinking, immediate gratification, instant results, quick wins. But sustainable wealth is long-term, and long-term thinking slows the nervous system down. When you shift your focus from how can I get rich fast to how can I build stable wealth over 10 years, your body relaxes because urgency decreases, pressure softens, clarity increases. Long-term strategy creates emotional patience, and patience protects peace. Now imagine this. You automate savings, you invest consistently, you track progress monthly, you adjust quarterly, you think annually. What happens? You stop checking your bank account with anxiety every day. You stop reacting emotionally to small fluctuations. You begin to see growth as a process, not an event. This is maturity, and maturity creates peace. There is another dimension here, energy management. Money is energy exchange. If you earn in ways that drain you completely, your peace will collapse. High income with emotional exhaustion is not wealth, it is imbalance. True wealth requires alignment between income, energy, purpose, and capacity. If your financial growth destroys your health, you are borrowing against your future peace. If your ambition costs your relationships, you are trading connection for currency. And eventually, the cost feels heavier than the gain. So design wealth around sustainability. Ask yourself, can I maintain this pace for years? If not, adjust. Peace of mind requires sustainable effort, not extreme bursts. Extreme bursts impress people. Consistency builds legacy, and legacy feels calm. Now let's go even deeper into the discipline paradox. When your daily routine is clear, your creativity increases. When your finances are organized, your vision expands. When your responsibilities are handled, your mind opens.
Chaos consumes bandwidth, order frees it, and free bandwidth creates innovation. Innovation increases income, and income built from innovation feels empowering, not stressful. So discipline is not the enemy of freedom, it is the gateway to it. Structure reduces noise. Noise reduction increases focus. Focus accelerates growth. Growth executed calmly sustains peace. Everything connects. Now pause and ask yourself honestly, where in my financial life am I avoiding structure? Is it tracking? Is it investing? Is it planning? Is it pricing my value correctly? Is it setting boundaries around work? That area of avoidance is the source of hidden stress. Do not attack it aggressively. Approach it calmly. One small system at a time, one clear decision at a time, one repeated action at a time. Peace of mind is built through predictable behavior. Predictable behavior builds trust with yourself. Self-trust builds confidence. Confidence reduces fear. Better decisions increase wealth, and wealth managed wisely protects peace. This is not about becoming rigid, it is about becoming reliable. Reliable with your word, reliable with your money, reliable with your habits. When you become reliable, life feels stable, and stability is underrated power. We are not chasing dramatic breakthroughs, we are engineering steady elevation. In the next phase, we go deeper into something even more powerful, the relationship between contribution and wealth. Why service multiplies income, why generosity increases expansion, and how giving strategically enhances peace instead of draining resources. We continue.
Now we move into a principle that transforms wealth from pressure into purpose. Because money pursued only for accumulation eventually feels empty, but money aligned with contribution feels powerful. There is a psychological shift that happens when you stop asking, "How much can I make?" and start asking, "How much value can I create?" Value is the foundation of sustainable wealth. Money is a byproduct. When income becomes the only focus, anxiety increases. You watch numbers constantly. You compare constantly. You measure yourself constantly. But when contribution becomes the focus, something changes internally. You stop obsessing over validation. You start refining skill. You start solving problems. You start thinking long-term. And long-term thinking stabilizes the nervous system. Let's explore this deeply. Every dollar earned is an exchange of value. If you increase the value you provide, income expands naturally. But value is not only technical skill. It is emotional reliability. It is clarity. It is leadership. It is consistency. It is trust. Trust is the most underestimated wealth asset. People pay for certainty. They invest in stability. They return to reliability. If your presence reduces stress, you are valuable. If your work increases efficiency, you are valuable. If your thinking solves problems, you are valuable. And when value increases, income follows without force. Now, here is the deeper layer. Contribution creates meaning. Meaning reduces anxiety. When your work serves something beyond ego, pressure transforms into mission. Mission feels different from ambition. Ambition says, "I must win." Mission says, "I am building something important." One creates tension, the other creates grounded drive. Grounded drive sustains peace. But let's go even deeper. Some people resist contribution because they feel depleted. They think, "I need to secure myself first." And yes, stability matters. But contribution is not always financial. It is creative. It is intellectual. It is relational. When you operate from a contribution mindset, scarcity weakens. because your focus shifts from what you lack to what you can give. And psychologically, giving signals abundance. Abundance reduces fear. Fear reduction improves clarity. Clarity improves strategy. Strategy improves wealth. This is not mystical, it is cognitive. Your brain behaves differently when it perceives surplus versus deficiency. Now let's address generosity intelligently. Peaceful wealth builders give strategically, not emotionally impulsive, not guilt-driven, not approval-seeking. Strategic generosity means you give from strength, not from pressure. You support without destabilizing yourself. You contribute in alignment with your values. This type of giving increases self-respect, and self-respect reinforces identity. Remember this: you cannot grow rich with peace of mind if your wealth is built on internal conflict. If you constantly feel you must choose between profit and integrity, stress will accumulate. But when profit aligns with service, wealth feels clean. Clean money feels different psychologically. It carries no hidden tension. Now, let's talk about expansion. The more people you impact, the more your income ceiling rises. But impact requires visibility, and visibility requires courage. Some people stay financially small because they're afraid to be seen, afraid to be judged, afraid to be criticized, afraid to outshine. But true peace comes from alignment between ability and expression. If you know you can create value, yet you hide it, internal frustration builds. Unexpressed potential creates restlessness. Expression releases it, and released potential creates expansion. Now, imagine your financial growth as a ripple effect. You increase income, you stabilize your household, you invest intelligently, you create opportunity, you support innovation, you elevate conversations. Wealth, when peaceful, is constructive. It builds environments, it funds solutions, it creates leverage for impact. And when you see your growth as constructive rather than selfish, guilt dissolves. You stop shrinking, you expand responsibly, and responsible expansion feels strong. Let's bring this inward again. Ask yourself, what problem can I solve better than I currently am? What skill can I refine to increase my value? Where can I improve reliability? What fear is limiting my visibility? Those answers are your next financial step. Not hype, not shortcuts, not speculation. Refinement. Refinement compounds, and compounding creates stability. Stability supports peace. Peace strengthens decision-making. Decision-making increases wealth. Everything is connected. You are not just building income, you are building internal authority. The authority to create, the authority to decide, the authority to expand calmly. In the next stage, we move into something critical: the relationship between patience and exponential growth. Why delayed gratification multiplies wealth. Why emotional control increases timing precision. And how mastering time perception protects peace of mind while accelerating success. We continue. Now we move into one of the most misunderstood forces in wealth creation: time. Not clock time, psychological time. Because your relationship with time determines your relationship with money. Impatience is expensive, emotionally and financially. Most people lose peace not because they are failing, but because they want results faster than reality operates. They overestimate what can happen in 1 year and underestimate what can happen in 10. This distortion creates pressure. Pressure creates rushed decisions. Rushed decisions destroy stability. Stability lost destroys peace. And peace lost weakens judgment. Let's slow this down. Wealth that lasts is rarely explosive. It is layered. Skill layered on skill. Capital layered on capital. Reputation layered on reputation. Trust layered on trust. Compounding is invisible at first. That is why most people quit too early. The early phase of growth feels slow. Effort appears greater than reward. Energy feels invested without visible return. And this is where impatience whispers, "This isn't working. Maybe there's a faster way. Maybe I should switch direction." Constant switching resets momentum. Resetting momentum resets compounding. And without compounding, wealth becomes exhausting. Now understand something powerful. Patience is not passive. It is strategic restraint. It is the ability to continue executing without immediate emotional reward. That ability is rare, and rarity creates advantage. Financial markets reward patience. Businesses reward patience. Relationships reward patience. Health rewards patience. Everything sustainable requires time. But here is the deeper layer. Impatience is often fear disguised as ambition. Fear of being left behind, fear of missing out, fear of not being enough yet, fear of comparison. Comparison accelerates perceived time. You scroll, you observe others' highlights, you assume they are ahead, you feel urgency. Urgency without clarity creates chaos. The calm builder ignores noise, not arrogantly, intentionally, because they understand timing matters more than speed. Speed without direction leads nowhere faster. Direction with patience builds empires quietly. Now let's connect this to peace of mind. When your vision is long-term, daily fluctuations lose emotional power. A bad week doesn't shake you. A slow month doesn't panic you. A temporary loss doesn't define you. Because you see in decades, not days. And when you think in decades, your nervous system relaxes. Short-term thinkers live in constant emotional spikes. Long-term thinkers live in measured rhythm. Measured rhythm protects peace. Let's go even deeper. Delayed gratification is not just about saying no, it is about saying yes to a larger future. Every time you delay unnecessary spending, you increase optionality. Every time you reinvest instead of consuming, you expand leverage. Every time you practice restraint, you strengthen identity. Restraint builds power. Power builds confidence. Confidence builds calm. Calm improves timing, and timing multiplies wealth. Timing is not luck. It is emotional control under uncertainty. When markets fluctuate, the emotional react. The disciplined observe. When opportunities appear, the impatient rush. The strategic evaluate. When growth accelerates, the ego expands. The mature stabilize. This is the difference between temporary wealth and sustainable wealth. Now imagine two individuals, both earn well. One spends to signal success immediately. The other builds quietly for years. After a decade, the difference is dramatic. Not because one worked harder, but because one respected time. Respecting time means understanding compounding. Compounding works financially, it works intellectually, it works relationally, it works physically. Small daily improvements multiplied over years create exponential outcomes. But exponential curves are invisible at the beginning, and that invisibility tests faith. Faith here is not blind belief, it is commitment to process without constant validation. Process commitment reduces emotional volatility. Reduced volatility increases consistency. Consistency builds wealth. Wealth managed calmly sustains peace. Now let's talk about urgency properly. There is healthy urgency.
Healthy urgency pushes action. Unhealthy urgency pushes panic. Healthy urgency says execute today. Unhealthy urgency says if this doesn't happen now, I'm behind. Behind compared to who? Most comparison lacks context. You do not see other people's debt. You do not see their stress. You do not see their internal chaos. You only see outcomes. And comparison based on incomplete information distorts your time perception. So reclaim your timeline. Design it intentionally. Ask yourself, what do I want my life to look like in 10 years? What skills must I master? What capital must I accumulate? What systems must I build? What character must I develop? Then reverse engineer patiently. Peace comes from clarity over long horizons. When your future is structured, today feels lighter. Now here's something powerful. Time also filters emotion. Many financial mistakes happen because decisions are made in emotional spikes. Give big decisions time. Delay major purchases 48 hours. Delay emotional reactions 24 hours. Delay risky commitments until clarity returns. Time cools emotion. Cooled emotion increases intelligence. Intelligence applied consistently multiplies wealth. Wealth multiplied steadily reinforces peace. This is the rhythm. You are not racing, you are building. You are not chasing, you are compounding. You are not reacting, you are aligning. And alignment over time becomes unstoppable. In the next phase, we go into something even more profound. How to protect your peace while scaling. How to expand income without expanding stress. How to build leverage instead of workload. And how to design wealth that grows even when you rest. We continue.
Now we move into something that determines whether your wealth will liberate you or trap you. Scaling. Most people say they want to grow. Very few understand what growth actually requires. Because growth is not just more income. Growth is more responsibility, more complexity, more decisions, more visibility, more risk exposure. If your internal capacity does not expand with your external results, stress multiplies. And when stress multiplies faster than structure, peace collapses. So the real question is not, how do I earn more? The real question is, how do I expand without losing stability? This is where leverage enters the conversation. Leverage is the difference between effort-based income and system-based income. Effort-based income stops when you stop. System-based income continues when you rest. If your financial life depends only on your personal energy, you will always feel underlying pressure, because subconsciously you know, if I slow down, everything slows down. That awareness creates tension. But when you build leverage through investments, through systems, through delegation, through assets, your nervous system begins to trust the future. Trust reduces anxiety. Anxiety reduction increases clarity. Clarity improves scale decisions. Now, understand something critical. Scaling without structure is dangerous. If you double income without doubling organization, you double chaos. If you increase revenue without increasing discipline, you increase stress. If you grow visibility without strengthening identity, you increase insecurity. Internal growth must match external growth. Otherwise, expansion feels heavy instead of empowering. Let's go deeper. There are 3 types of leverage that create peaceful scaling: time leverage, skill leverage, and capital leverage. Time leverage means building systems that reduce repeated effort, automation, delegation, templates, processes.
Anything that removes repetitive decision-making protects mental energy. Skill leverage means developing expertise that commands higher value per unit of time. When your skill level rises, you don't need to work more hours. You increase quality, and quality increases compensation. Capital leverage means letting money work independently. Investments, ownership, assets that produce. Capital leverage creates breathing room. Breathing room creates psychological freedom, and psychological freedom feels like peace. Now, here is the deeper psychological truth. Many people unconsciously resist leverage because leverage requires trust. Trust in others, trust in systems, trust in delayed returns. If you grew up believing, if I don't do it myself, it won't be done right, delegation feels threatening. If you grew up in instability, long-term investing feels risky. If you built your identity around hard work, earning through systems feels unfamiliar. But sustainable wealth requires identity evolution. You cannot scale peacefully with a survival mindset. Survival thinking says, do everything yourself, control everything, move fast or fall behind. Builder thinking says, design systems, empower others, move strategically. Survival creates income. Builder thinking creates wealth, and wealth done properly creates peace. Now imagine this. Your income grows, but so does your free time. Your impact expands, but so does your calm. Your responsibilities increase, but your stress decreases. That is intelligent scaling, not busyness disguised as ambition. Busyness is noisy. Leverage is quiet. Busy people often feel important. Leveraged people feel stable. Stability builds confidence. Confidence builds clarity. Clarity improves scale decisions. Now, address a dangerous trap. As income grows, lifestyle often expands automatically. Bigger house, more expenses, higher expectations, social comparison. This is lifestyle inflation, and lifestyle inflation silently steals peace. Because fixed expenses increase pressure. Pressure increases dependence on continuous performance. Continuous performance without margin creates fragility. Margin is peace. Margin in time, margin in money, margin in commitments. The more margin you build, the less fragile your life becomes. Fragility creates fear. Margin creates confidence. When you scale, protect margin aggressively. Increase investments before increasing lifestyle. Increase assets before increasing consumption. Increase flexibility before increasing image. Image is expensive. Freedom is valuable. Choose freedom. Now, let's go even deeper into energy. As you scale, people demand more from you. More meetings, more communication, more decisions. If you do not protect your energy, growth becomes draining. So create boundaries early, not from ego, from strategy. Boundaries protect capacity. Capacity protects performance. Performance sustains wealth, and sustainable wealth maintains peace. There is also emotional scaling. When more people know you, criticism increases, expectation increases, projection increases. If your identity is not stable, external noise destabilizes you. So build internal stability before external visibility. Know who you are beyond income. Know your values beyond performance. Know your worth beyond outcomes. When identity is anchored internally, external fluctuations lose power. Now pause and imagine your next level. More income, more opportunity, more exposure. Ask yourself honestly, am I building systems or just working harder?
Am I increasing leverage or increasing pressure? Am I protecting margin or chasing image? Those answers determine whether your future wealth feels heavy or peaceful. Scaling is not about speed, it is about design. Design income, design systems, design investments, design time, design boundaries. Designed wealth feels intentional. Intentional wealth feels calm. And calm expansion becomes sustainable. In the next phase, we go even deeper into internal and powerful dynamics. How to detach your identity from outcomes, how to stay emotionally stable during gains and losses, and how to build wealth without letting success or failure control your self-worth. We continue.
Now we move into one of the most powerful shifts you will ever make: detaching your identity from outcomes. Because as long as your self-worth rises and falls with your income, peace will always be temporary. Let's go deep here. When you attach your identity to results, every fluctuation becomes personal. A profitable month feels like validation. A slow month feels like failure. A successful launch feels like superiority. A missed opportunity feels like inadequacy. Your nervous system stays on a roller coaster, up, down, up, down. And even if income grows, stability never arrives. Real wealth requires emotional neutrality toward outcomes. Not indifference, neutrality. This means you execute with full intensity, but you evaluate results without emotional collapse. This is maturity, and maturity protects peace. Let's explore why this is difficult. Most people were conditioned early to associate performance with love. Good grades earned approval. Winning earned praise. Achievement earned attention. So the brain learned results equal worth. Now that pattern simply moved into adulthood. Income equals value. Status equals importance. Recognition equals significance. But this equation is unstable because outcomes are influenced by variables beyond your control. Markets shift, trends change, opportunities fluctuate, timing varies. If your identity is built on variables you don't fully control, you will never feel secure. Security must be internal. Your worth must be anchored in character, discipline, integrity, consistency, growth, effort alignment. These are controllable. Income is influenced. Character is chosen. When you shift your identity from "I am my results" to "I am my standards," everything changes. You no longer panic during slow seasons. You no longer inflate during fast seasons. You become steady, and steadiness builds long-term advantage. Let's go deeper into emotional stability. Most financial mistakes happen during emotional spikes. Euphoria leads to overconfidence. Fear leads to impulsive retreat. Ego leads to excessive risk. Insecurity leads to overworking. Emotional regulation is a financial skill. When gains happen, stay grounded. When losses happen, stay analytical. Ask, what is this teaching me? What needs adjustment? What remains strong? Calm evaluation increases intelligent response. Intelligent response increases recovery speed. Recovery speed increases resilience. Resilience builds long-term wealth. Now consider something important. If your mood depends on money, you will chase money emotionally. If your peace depends on money, you will fear losing it constantly. But if money becomes a tool rather than identity, you operate from strength. Money is leverage. Money is optionality. Money is flexibility. Money is impact. But money is not self-worth. When self-worth detaches from income, pressure decreases dramatically. You still pursue growth, you still execute intensely, but desperation disappears. And desperation is expensive. Desperation accepts bad deals.
Desperation overworks. Desperation tolerates misalignment. Desperation chases shortcuts. Calm builders reject desperation. They operate from patience. Patience protects peace. Now let's explore failure properly. Failure is data. It is not identity. But many people internalize it. I failed becomes I am a failure. That shift is destructive. Instead, reframe. The strategy failed. The timing was off. The execution needs refinement. Separate self from outcome. Self remains stable. Strategy evolves. This mental separation reduces emotional damage. Reduced damage preserves momentum. Preserved momentum increases long-term success probability. Everything connects. Now imagine this. You build wealth steadily. Some months strong, some months slow. But your internal state remains calm. Your discipline remains steady. Your identity remains grounded. That person becomes unstoppable over time because emotional stability compounds like capital. Every year of calm execution multiplies results, while others burn out from emotional volatility. Let's go even deeper. Detachment does not mean lack of care. It means balanced attachment. You care deeply about the process. You care deeply about improvement. But you are not psychologically destroyed by temporary outcomes. You measure progress objectively, not emotionally. Objectivity increases clarity. Clarity improves timing. Timing improves returns. Returns reinforce stability. Stability strengthens peace. Now pause and reflect. If income disappeared tomorrow, who would you be? Strip away revenue. Strip away recognition. Strip away performance. What remains? Your habits, your skills, your thinking, your discipline, your values. That is your real wealth, and that wealth cannot be taken easily. When you build internal wealth first, external wealth becomes less threatening to pursue, because losing it would not erase you. It would only challenge you. And challenge is different from destruction. This is freedom. Freedom from ego-driven growth. Freedom from panic-driven decisions. Freedom from validation dependence. You still expand, but you expand calmly. You still build, but you build steadily. You still compete, but you compete internally against your previous standards. And that internal competition builds excellence without chaos. In the next phase, we go into something critical for long-term stability. How to design a life where wealth supports your peace, not replaces it. How to define enough. How to avoid the endless pursuit trap. And how to know when growth is aligned and when it is ego-driven. We continue.
Now we enter a question that very few ambitious people dare to ask themselves. What is enough? Because if you never define enough, you will chase endlessly, and endless chasing destroys peace. Ambition without boundaries becomes addiction. There is always another level, another milestone, another comparison, another upgrade. More income, more assets, more status, more recognition. And if your mind constantly moves the finish line, you will never arrive. Arrival is psychological, not numerical. Peace does not come from a specific amount. It comes from clarity. Clarity about lifestyle, clarity about values, clarity about priorities, clarity about trade-offs. If you do not consciously define your version of wealth, society will define it for you. And society's definition is loud, expensive, and unstable. So pause. If income doubled tomorrow, what would actually change in your daily life? Not hypothetically, practically. Would you sleep better? Would you slow down? Would you invest more? Would you spend more? Would you impress more? Be honest, because many people are not chasing security. They're chasing validation. And validation has no ceiling. Security does. Security is measurable. Validation is emotional. When wealth is built to feel safe, it stabilizes. When wealth is built to feel superior, it escalates endlessly. Now let's talk about the endless pursuit trap. There's a dangerous belief in high performers. I'll relax after the next milestone, after the next deal, after the next investment, after the next promotion, after the next year. But after keeps moving, and your nervous system never experiences arrival. This creates chronic tension. Chronic tension reduces health. Reduced health reduces clarity. Reduced clarity weakens decision-making, and weakened decision-making threatens wealth itself. So wealth without pause becomes self-defeating. True financial intelligence includes strategic satisfaction, not complacency, satisfaction. Complacency stops growth. Satisfaction stabilizes it. You can pursue expansion while appreciating current progress. In fact, appreciation increases performance quality because gratitude reduces desperation. Desperation creates poor decisions. Now let's go deeper. Defining enough requires courage because it forces you to separate your desires from social pressure. What do you actually need for comfort, freedom, security, impact? Not what impresses others, not what trends promote, not what influencers display. Your version. When you define enough clearly, you gain direction. Direction simplifies decisions. Simplified decisions reduce stress. Reduced stress protects peace. Now consider this powerful truth. There are two types of wealth growth: horizontal growth and vertical growth. Horizontal growth is more money, more assets, more expansion. Vertical growth is deeper experience, stronger relationships, better health, greater meaning. If you grow horizontally without growing vertically, emptiness appears. If you grow vertically without stabilizing horizontally, insecurity appears. Balance creates harmony. Harmony creates peace, and peace allows sustainable ambition. Now imagine this. Your financial life is stable, investments growing, income predictable, margin protected. Instead of pushing endlessly for more, you choose intentional expansion, not reactionary growth. Intentional growth asks, does this opportunity align with my values? Does it enhance or reduce my peace? Does it increase leverage or increase chaos? Does it serve ego or purpose? These questions filter distractions. Distraction is expensive. Focus is profitable. Now let's address something subtle. Sometimes people chase more because they're afraid to feel still. Stillness can expose unresolved identity questions. Without constant growth, they don't know who they are, so they stay busy. But busyness masks insecurity. Stillness builds awareness. Awareness builds maturity. Maturity builds controlled ambition. Controlled ambition builds stable wealth. Stable wealth supports peaceful living. Everything connects. Now think long-term. If you accumulate aggressively for 30 years but sacrifice health and relationships, was that wealth? If you build calmly for 30 years, maintain health, maintain relationships, maintain identity, that is integrated wealth. Integrated wealth feels complete. Complete wealth feels peaceful. This is not about reducing ambition. It is about refining it. Ambition guided by clarity becomes powerful. Ambition driven by comparison becomes exhausting. So define your enough, not to limit growth, but to anchor it. When you know your baseline security target, everything above it becomes strategic choice, not emotional need. Choice feels empowering. Need feels stressful. We're moving towards a state where money is a tool, growth is intentional, identity is stable, peace is protected. In the final phase, we will integrate everything. We will align mindset, structure, patience, leverage, identity, and purpose into one cohesive philosophy of peaceful wealth, and we will solidify the internal shift that makes this sustainable for life. We continue.
Now we bring everything closer together. Because knowledge without integration changes nothing. You can understand mindset. You can understand systems. You can understand patience. You can understand leverage. You can understand identity detachment. You can even define enough. But if these principles remain separate in your mind, you will still feel fragmented. Peaceful wealth is not built from isolated ideas. It is built from alignment. Alignment between what you think, what you do, and what you value. When those three conflict, stress appears. When those three align, confidence stabilizes. Let's integrate this properly. First, mindset. You now understand that money is not identity. It is a tool. This removes emotional volatility. Second, structure. You design systems so your income does not rely purely on motivation. This removes chaos. Third, patience. You operate on long-term timelines. This removes urgency pressure. Fourth, leverage. You build assets and systems that multiply effort. This removes exhaustion. Fifth, contribution. You align profit with value creation. This removes guilt. Sixth, enough. You define your baseline. This removes endless chasing. When these pieces work together, something powerful happens. Your financial life becomes predictable. Predictability creates psychological safety. Psychological safety increases creativity. Creativity increases opportunity. Opportunity increases wealth. Wealth managed wisely reinforces safety. It becomes a self-reinforcing loop. Now let's go deeper into integration on a daily level. What does peaceful wealth look like in practice? It looks like waking up without financial panic. It looks like reviewing numbers without fear. It looks like making decisions without emotional spikes. It looks like investing without desperation. It looks like saying no without guilt. It looks like scaling without chaos. It looks like earning without attachment. That is emotional maturity applied to money, and maturity compounds just like capital. Now consider your current stage. Are you building foundation? Are you stabilizing income? Are you scaling systems? Are you refining leverage? Different stages require different focus, but peace is available at every stage. If you wait to feel calm after you make it, you are programming stress into your success. Instead, build calm into the process. Calm is not weakness. Calm is control. Control over impulse, control over reaction, control over ego, control over comparison, and control creates precision. Precision multiplies results. Now let's address fear at a deeper level. Even disciplined builders sometimes fear loss. Loss of income, loss of status, loss of opportunity, loss of momentum. Fear is natural, but unmanaged fear drives irrational protection. Over-hoarding, overworking, over-controlling, over-risking. Balanced fear becomes risk awareness. Risk awareness strengthens strategy. Strategy protects wealth. Protected wealth stabilizes emotion.
Emotionally stable individuals make superior long-term decisions. This is why inner work matters as much as financial knowledge. Without inner discipline, external wealth magnifies insecurity. With inner discipline, external wealth magnifies impact. Now imagine your life 5 years from now. You are financially stronger, systems are built, investments are growing, identity is grounded. What does your energy feel like? Not excited, not frantic, stable, strong, measured. That is the energy of sustainable success, and that energy attracts opportunity because calm leaders are trusted, and trust expands influence. Influence increases income potential. Income aligned with purpose reinforces peace. Wealth becomes quiet power, not loud performance. Quiet power moves differently. It doesn't rush, it doesn't prove, it doesn't react. It builds. Now we prepare for the final consolidation, the closing alignment that transforms these ideas into a life philosophy. Not motivation, not inspiration, but internal commitment. Because ultimately, peaceful wealth is not a strategy, it is a standard. And standards define destiny. We move into the final integration.
Now everything becomes simple. Not easy, simple. Because after all the strategies, all the psychology, all the structure, all the discipline, it comes down to one decision. Who are you choosing to become? Wealth with peace is not built from information. It is built from identity. If you identify as reactive, you will react with money. If you identify as impatient, you will rush with money. If you identify as insecure, you will prove with money. But if you identify as disciplined, you will build with money. If you identify as calm, you will decide with clarity. If you identify as strategic, you will move with timing. Identity drives behavior. Behavior drives outcomes. Outcomes reinforce identity. So the real transformation was never about income. It was about self-concept. The version of you that panics at fluctuations is not the version that sustains wealth. The version of you that chases validation is not the version that feels fulfilled. The version of you that avoids structure is not the version that feels secure. So you upgrade the identity first, quietly, internally. You become someone who tracks without fear, plans without rigidity, invests without emotion, scales without chaos, gives without guilt, wins without ego, loses without collapse. That person cannot be shaken easily. And when you cannot be shaken easily, your decisions improve dramatically. Improved decisions repeated consistently over long periods of time create extraordinary results. Not explosive results, extraordinary results. There is a difference. Explosions are loud and short-lived. Extraordinary is quiet and sustained. Now, imagine your life 10 years from now if you live by these principles. You think long-term, you build systems, you protect margin, you detach from outcomes, you define enough, you align contribution with profit. You do this not for a month, not for motivation, but as a standard. A decade of emotional discipline is more powerful than a year of obsession. A decade of patient investing is more powerful than chasing trends. A decade of identity stability is more powerful than temporary hype. Peaceful wealth is slow power. Slow power compounds silently. And one day you look back and realize you are no longer stressed about money. You are no longer emotionally controlled by income. You are no longer chasing to feel worthy. You are building because it aligns with who you are. That is freedom. Freedom is not retirement. Freedom is internal stability regardless of external numbers. It is waking up knowing
I can handle what comes. Markets rise, markets fall. Opportunities appear, opportunities disappear. Income expands, income contracts, but you remain steady. Steady builders win long term, not because they are smarter, but because they endure without self-destruction. And endurance, when calm, becomes unstoppable. So from this point forward, wealth is no longer a frantic pursuit. It is a structured expression of your values. Money becomes organized energy, energy directed intentionally, intention executed patiently, patience reinforced by discipline, discipline supported by identity, identity anchored in peace, and peace protected at all costs. Because without peace, wealth feels heavy. With peace, wealth feels powerful. This is not about becoming rich quickly. It is about becoming unshakable permanently. And when you become unshakable, wealth becomes a natural byproduct. So build steadily, move intentionally, think long-term, protect your nervous system, design leverage, define enough, detach from ego, anchor your identity. And remember, the goal was never money alone. The goal was wealth that allows you to live, think, build, and grow without losing yourself in the process. That is the highest level of success. And now, you are ready to build it.